I'm James Roblin. The title of my script is The Last Man in Europe. In the aftermath of war, George Orwell finds himself a widower and single father. Leaving London for the Isle of Jura, he creates a remote haven for himself, his infant son and housekeeper. But there are several serpents in this Eden. Because as he wrestles with the dark dystopian visions of 1984, Orwell is fighting a losing battle with time and tuberculosis. The story is based on true events. The Last Man in Europe was 1984's working title. From when I first discovered this story, I found it irresistible, and the deeper I went into the research, the more layers there seemed to be. But at its heart is this extraordinary, singular character whose relationships with women were quite complicated, but whose legacy endures and seems to gain vitality as history plays out in the 21st century. I knew there was a profoundly emotive, visually cinematic film within this material, and that's what I set out to write. I came up in the industry as a runner, assistant, script reader, script editor and development executive. I've had the privilege of learning about screenwriting from the other side of the table, giving notes, trying to have a positive and catalytic impact on the writer's process. My first commission was an episode of the Judge Dee Mysteries, which was to be a landmark Chinese language show based on the classic novels by Robert Van Gulik. The Last Man in Europe is in development with the Lighthouse Film and Television. I've recently been commissioned to write a feature film for a major UK broadcaster. Great source material is always helpful, but I also love to develop and write from original premises. Often there are a few images or scenes that become vivid in my mind's eye early on. These become cornerstones for the architecture of the film that it's my task to blueprint for the reader. Describing that architecture in its entirety involves discovery, divine inspiration, outlining, problem solving, moving forward and building brick by brick. And I run the film in my head 1,000 times until I can feel its spell. I'm developing projects for both film and television, and whether it's science fiction, biographical drama, detective mystery, dark comedy, gothic horror, I'm drawn to all the above and more. I find there's too much fun to be had across different genres to stay in a single lane. I've experienced working in a US-style writer's room, and that kind of intensely creative, collaborative environment is something I'd love to be involved in again. I'm also writing a first novel that's been slowly crystallising in the gaps between other projects. I have several projects that I'm looking to get off the ground. At the moment, these include a powerful true crime story set in 1980s South Africa, and a timely story of sleaze and political dragon slaying set in 90s England, also based on true events. I have a fresh take on the ghost story genre. I have aristocratic vampires, extraterrestrial parasites, murderous dentists, and much more.